Today in the kitchen, we're making German chocolate cake. It's my husband's 40th birthday, and we're making this cake all from scratch. And then we're going to be using the Just About gluten-free all-purpose baking flour to make it gluten-free. I'm going to start with filling up a Pyrex measuring cup. I need half a cup of water, but I'm going to fill this up a little bit more because I'm going to be putting it in the microwave, and we're going to set that to where it will be boiling. I have 5.5 minutes. After the 5.5 minutes, check to make sure that the water is at half a cup, and we're going to add in the baker's chocolate. For the baker's chocolate, I'm using the German sweet chocolate, and I'm going to use the whole bar. That's 4 ounces of the baker's chocolate. Just break that off into pieces and put it into the hot water. Once that's all in the water, take a spatula and just mix that around, and that chocolate will melt into the water. I'm starting with melting the chocolate into the hot water first because I want this to cool down by the time that I pour it into the batter. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees. I'm going to set this aside, and I'm going to get to the KitchenAid mixer. I'm going to put on the flat beaters for the KitchenAid mixer, and I'm going to add in 1 1/4 cups of butter. So that's 2 sticks of butter, and the third one we're using 4 tablespoons. Now I'm adding in the sugar. On the ingredients, it says that we have 2 cups of sugar, but it's divided. For adding into the butter, I'm using 1 3/4 cups of sugar. After adding that in, I'm going to set aside the rest of the sugar. I will be using that later. Turn on the beaters and beat the butter and sugar until it's light and fluffy. This will be for about 3 to 5 minutes. Stop and scrape down the sides of the bowl as needed. And then continue beating until it's light and fluffy. I'm going to set that aside, and in a large mixing bowl, I'm going to add all the dry ingredients. I'm using the Just About Foods gluten-free all-purpose baking flour to use in this German chocolate cake. I have 2 1/4 cups gluten-free flour. For the cocoa powder, I'm using the Hershey's cocoa and 1 tablespoon. Baking soda, 1 teaspoon. Baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon. Salt, 1/2 teaspoon. And then I'm going to mix this all together. Now I'm going to work on separating the eggs. I want to separate the egg yolks from the egg whites. I'm going to use both parts of the egg, so we will set aside the egg whites. I have 4 eggs, and I'm adding in the egg yolks one at a time to the butter and sugar mixture. As I add in the egg yolks one at a time, I will beat well after each addition. And I'm adding the egg whites to a separate mixing bowl. All the egg yolks have been added, and now I'm going to add in the vanilla. 1.5 teaspoons. Mix in the vanilla. The chocolate has melted good into the water. Add the melted chocolate mixture and beat until incorporated. You want to have the mixer on a low speed so that the chocolate does not splash out. In a measuring cup, add buttermilk, 1 cup. The chocolate is getting good and mixed in. Now I'm going to add in the dry ingredients mixture, and I'm using half of the dry ingredients mixture and half of the buttermilk. Mix that together and scrape down the sides as needed. Once you have that mixed in a little bit, we're going to add in the rest of the dry ingredients and the rest of the buttermilk. And mix that together and scrape the sides as needed. I'm done mixing that together, and I have the egg whites, and I'm going to beat the egg whites on high with the hand mixer until thick and frothy. Once the egg whites are thick and frothy, I'm taking that remaining 1/4 cup of sugar and I'm lightly sprinkling that into the egg whites. Continue beating on high until stiff peaks form. The egg whites are now done beating. I'm going to scrape off the beater and remove that from the mixer. Pour the egg whites into the batter. Then gently fold the egg whites in. Continue folding this in until all the egg whites are mixed well into the batter. I have this all mixed up well, and I'm going to grease 3 cake pans and divide this up into the 3 cake pans. And smooth out the top of the batter in the cake pan. And these are ready to go into the oven. Bake for about 30 to 35 minutes in the oven. It's been 35 minutes in the oven and they're ready to come out of the oven. I'm inserting a toothpick into the middle of the cake to make sure that it comes out clean. I'm going to let these cool completely, and I'm going to go ahead and start making the icing. In a medium saucepan, I'm going to add the sugars. 1 cup light brown sugar, 1/2 cup of sugar, then add 1 can, that's 12 ounces of evaporated milk. Mix that together. Then I'm going to separate the eggs. I'm putting in 3 egg yolks, and I'm going to put in the egg yolks with the sugar and milk. And then mix that all together. Add in 3/4 cups of butter, that's 1 stick of butter, and 4 tablespoons. Slice the butter up so it will be easier to melt. Add in 1/8 teaspoon of salt. Turn the heat to medium heat and stir constantly until the butter melts. The butter has mostly melted and we're gonna bring this to a boil. And when it starts boiling, let it thicken for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna turn the heat off and I'm gonna add in the coconut. I'm using the baker's coconut. I'm adding 3 cups of coconut. And stir that in. I actually ended up adding the rest of the coconut because there was not much left in the bag, so I just used a whole bag of the baker's coconut. And I'm adding half a teaspoon of vanilla. And mix that together. And then I'm gonna let this cool for about 30 minutes. The icing's been cooling for about 30 minutes, so I had 3 cake pans and I'm gonna do a 2-layer cake and then a 1-layer cake. On the 1-layer cake, I am adding the icing without the pecans. For those who have to eat nut-free and gluten-free, this is a good idea to not add in the pecans and your icing is already ready. I have the 1-layer cake with the icing with no pecans in it, and that is ready to be served. And then for those who can eat nuts, I'm using the chopped pecans, but I'm gonna beat those and make it into smaller pieces of pecans. and then add those to the icing. I have the first layer of cake, and I'm just going to add some icing to the first layer. And I've just spread that out evenly, and I'm going to add the second layer. And then add on more icing. Okay, and then I'm just going to add icing and spread that out on top, and then add it to the sides until it's completely covered in the icing. And it's completely covered in icing, and it's now ready to serve. For our friends who are not gluten-free, you can make this German chocolate cake with the same recipe using the same measurements, but use all-purpose flour instead of the gluten-free flour. And for those who are not allergic to nuts, then you can make this same recipe, but you can make a 3-tiered cake. You can find the full recipe in the description box down below. This is the first time that I have made German chocolate cake completely from scratch and all gluten-free. I think it turned out pretty well. The cake is very fluffy and the icing tastes amazing. Happy birthday, Chris. We hope you enjoyed your day. Enjoy! Thank y'all for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe and let us know if you tried German chocolate cake. We'll see you next time. in the kitchen.